Hey, what's up, Stay Tuners? It's your good friend Jimbo here, letting you know that today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member and you can too. Apply today and let them know that you heard from Stay Tuned Sports and you start earning today. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
You heard the rest. Now here's the best. Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here, welcoming you to Super Bowl week. We finally got here. Finally got to the end of the season. I mean, as far as us Eagles fans, I think we're happy to finally be done with the season. But be honest, I didn't know if we would ever get here because of the whole COVID thing, but we did, and it should be a hell of a game. And obviously, you know, we're gonna get into detail about the game and give my prediction, but there's other stuff to talk about as well as the Matthew Stafford trade, BKFC having their Knucklemania Saturday, and I think there's a UFC card too, but I'll be tuning into bare knuckle a little bit more so than UFC. But before we get into the show, head over to staytunedsports.net. Right hand side of our website is all our social media accounts that you can follow us from. Up top is our merch tab. We got the Stay Tuned Sports hat there. We got Josh Sobel's truck t-shirt there, hoodies. We're starting to get some good merchandise in there for you guys to pick from. So make sure you go over there and give it a look. Maybe possibly buy something. But definitely going to want to follow us and like us and subscribe to us on all our social media accounts, because there is going to be a announcement coming soon. Kind of big for the podcast here. And you guys are going to want to be able to see the announcement, you know, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, it'll be posted all over the place. So, speaking of announcements, I love playing video games. Everybody knows that. Hockey, Call of Duty, that stuff. One of my favorite video games is finally coming back. NCAA and EA Sports coming back together to make NCAA football. I mean, it's not going to be called NCAA football, but they got quoted saying basically they're going to reboot the franchise. And this has been something that all of us gamers, all of us sports gamers have been clamoring for years, since 2014 was the last game, so going on 7 years. Now, a little backstory in case you don't know why they stopped, and you're going to see over the next few months, I believe they'll come to an agreement. A court case was actually filed saying NCAA was profiting off of the likeness and the names of these players in the game. Now, even though, for namesake, say Tim Tebow, even though his name wasn't in the game, he looked like Tim Tebow. You knew it was Tim Tebow, and NCAA was profiting off of it. So NCAA said, nope, we're done with that agreement. We're not going to make it anymore with the EA Sports. Well, EA Sports is partnering up with a collegiate licensing company, which is going to allow them to use the college football names, the stadiums. The only thing that's not going to be able to use is the names or likeness. They'll be able to use the uniforms and playbooks too. Also, the executive, I believe it was from EA Sports, did say this. It's going to be a while before we get it, but it's definitely not going to be next year. It could be even 2 or 3 more years. The way I look at it, though, is we just went 7 years without it. As long as we're going to get it, what's another 2 or 3 more years? And like I stated earlier, I think in the next few months you're going to see NCAA come to some type of rule change or agreement to allow players to profit off of their names and likeness, which will change this whole EA Sports collegiate football game as well. Because he did say, the executive did say some things are going to change eventually over time, which I think he's alluding to that. I never understood why NCAA did this. I mean, yes, they're a powerhouse. They're always making money. But you cut yourself off from so many opportunities. Because think about it, if you got little Johnny, who's 10 years old, picks up the NCAA 14 and plays as Denard Robinson, gets hooked on the game, likes the player. Well, I want next year's game because I want to get him to be a Heisman again. And it's a snowball effect type deal. But by cutting it off, little Johnny's not going to realize who Denard Robinson is until he's in the NFL, or not going to be able to play as him to hype him up and buy his products, and which you would get a part of because you I don't want to say own the name, but you had a part of it. So I always said it was stupid by NCAA to do that, but at least we have it coming back. And even though it's not going to be called NCAA, football 14 or NCAA 14 or whatever, it used to be called, they are going to rename it and call it EA Sports College Football when they reboot the game. Just remember, it's in the game. So like I said, this weekend, jam-packed with sporting events, basically. Let's all not forget, Friday, we have Joshua Sobel in the Simbox race series going on over on YouTube, 3Y TV. Then Saturday, we have the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, Knucklemania. And it's Page Van Zant's long-awaited debut. And I'll tell you what, this should be a good fight. She's going up against Britain Hart, who we've seen a few times. It's going to be a tough fight. She's fought Beck Rawlins, and I forget who she fought last time, back in December, I believe it was. But she won that one. But the Beck Rawlins one, let's not forget, when before Britain Hart, Beck Rawlins was run through that women's division. And when Britain Hart came on, I mean, she still got her ass kicked, but it was a tough fight for Beck Rawlins. So this is going to be a very tough debut fight for Page Van Zant. So just give it a little rundown. It's 9 fights. And that's the other reason I like bare knuckles, because they go so fast. You have to have multiple fights. You can't just have 4 or 5 fights like UFC. It just, I think it's more unpredictable than UFC. So the 9 fights we have: main event, Van Zant versus Britain Hart. The co-main event is for the BKFC Bantamweight Championship, Johnny Bedford versus Dat Nguyen. Then we have, I believe, Chris Lieben's last combat fight of his career, kind of like a retiring fight, versus Quentin Henry, which is, someone's getting knocked out. They both love to bang. I'm just going to start saying that right now. Before them, we have a 135-pound bout with Carissa Segala versus Taylor Jenkins. Then a 145 bout, Greg Bono versus John Chalbeck. A 155 bout, Martin Brown versus Zach Zane. 205 bout, Lorenzo Hunt versus Rob Moreau. And another 265 bout, Dylan Klecker versus Chris Jensen. BKFC has been around now for this will be 3 years now, and some of these names are actually starting to stick and get well known. And just looking at this card already, there's like four or five out of these 9 that everybody knows the names just from watching them or watching UFC, and it's going to be some good, entertaining fights. Talking about the Page Van Zant, Britain Hart fight. BKFC, I would think, is hoping Van Zant wins because they signed her to a big deal, hoping that she would bring followers to watch, the pay-per-views and things like that. The worst thing that could happen is for her to lose, because all her Instagram followers, any followers that have been following BKFC, are going to look at her and be like, what the hell was the point of bringing her over? Is she really this bad? Or, that she wasn't that great in UFC, so, why would she come here? Why not just go retire or go to Bellator or go somewhere, more your talent type, thinking. So I think that would be a big loss for Van Zant and a big loss for BKFC if she were to lose. And I think it'd be a big gain for Britain Hart because it's a big name. There's this new face. I don't want to say new face of the franchise, but new face to help carry the women's division. Slightly disrespected, probably feels like. It'd be a big win and probably put her right back up there to fight for the title again. Johnny Bedford versus Dat Nguyen. Both very good boxers. Bedford is very good defensively. We've seen him every time he fights. Is very good defensively, and it's hard to say. Like, one part of me thinks it's gonna be a decision, but it's gonna be a bloody decision. But I could also see one of them getting knocked out or a ref stopping it. And if I had to pick between those two, if it came to that, I would say Johnny Bedford would win it. I think maybe with his defense, he could counter him and put him on his ass. So, we'll see what happens there. Very gassy, sorry. Then my boy Chris Lieben with his retirement fight, going up against Quentin Henry. Listen, Quentin Henry is a beast. Lieben is old. Love him, but let's just be honest here. He's old. He's been around the block 35 times. But you can never count out, I call it the zombie walk. Once he gets dazed, he goes into this like zombie mode where he just comes forward and throwing punches left and right. As far as this fight, as much like I like Lieben, I think Henry's just a lot more powerful. And I think this one's over within the first minute of the first round. Before that one, we have Carissa Sigala versus Taylor Jenkins. This one, these two names I don't really know, so they may be newcomers. Unless they were on like a prelim and I missed the prelim past couple times. So I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark here and say Taylor Jenkins for the 135-pound bout. Same thing with the next one. It's a 145-pound bout. Greg Bono versus John Chalbeck. I think Chalbeck fought a couple of months ago. Again, I'm gonna take another shot in the dark at this one. Will be I got Chalbeck winning. The only other one that I really recognize is a 205-pound bout. Lorenzo Hunt versus Rob Moreau. Lorenzo Hunt has fought in the BKFC a couple times, and a very good fighter. I think he lost only one. But I'm gonna go with him, Lorenzo Hunt, winning that bout. And I think this card, to kick off the bare knuckle boxing schedule, I think is going to be a successful pay-per-view for them. And as far as Page Van Zant, like I said, I'm going with Britain Hart. I think she wins by decision and doesn't make Van Zant look any good. So before we get into some Super Bowl talk, I want to touch on a little bit about this Matthew Stafford trade. Very surprised that he actually went to the Rams. If you guys remember last episode, I talked about what quarterbacks are going to go where, and I had him going to the Browns. And to see what the Rams gave up. So, in case you were living underneath the rock this whole weekend and the week, the Lions are getting a 3rd round pick this year, a 1st round pick next year, and a 1st round pick in 2023, meaning they are not going to have a 1st round pick until 2024. To take that a step further, they haven't had a 1st round pick since 2016. I guess they don't like 1st round picks or something. Maybe that's why they're not that good in the playoffs. I don't know. But Stafford going to the Rams. Here's the thing I like about it. He's got a big arm, so he's gonna be able to get those deep balls to like Cooper Kupp and those receivers. Has a good running game and a good offensive line. And the coach, Sean McVay, he's very smart, very talented, and he'll know how to keep Matthew Stafford standing up. That was my biggest takeaway from him being in Detroit the whole time, much like when Barry Sanders was. Not saying Matthew Stafford is Barry Sanders, but actually the opposite, I should say, because Barry Sanders always had a good offensive line, but a decent quarterback. Matthew Stafford, no offensive line. First 2 years in the NFL, he was hurt. Went on, a couple years that he was healthy. Now this past year or two, he's been back to being not healthy. But come on, let's be honest. I mean, when you have no time to throw the ball and you're constantly getting slammed to the ground, it's going to get caught up. You're going to get hurt. Now, does this make the Rams Super Bowl contenders? Yeah, I would say Super Bowl contenders. I mean, Goff wasn't bad. He wasn't terrible. He's just, average. And when you give a guy $134 million, you expect him to be elite. And he wasn't. Now, with him going to the Lions, I think this is more of a bridge, stop for him, because they're going to probably draft a quarterback. Let the quarterback sit on the sidelines for a year, maybe 2 years, and let Goff just run the offense. And who knows, maybe he gets back to where he was the first 2 years in the NFL, and you could trade him away and recoup some of those picks. Or actually get more of those picks, because you already got 2 first rounders from the Rams. But the Lions, other than the offensive line, the Lions' offense isn't that bad. They have a young running back who's good. Wide receivers are decent. They have a young top 5, top 7 tight end. So I am going to be interested to see how Stafford does with the Rams. Like I said, I think they're going to definitely compete for the Super Bowl now, especially if that defense could stick together with Aaron Darnold and Jalen Ramsey and all those guys. So, Super Bowl week. Kansas City versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Raymond James Stadium. So many stories going into this this game before it even starts. I mean, first obvious one, Tampa Bay Buccaneers being the first ever team to host a game at their home stadium in Tampa Bay, Florida. Tom Brady going for his 10th Super Bowl, or playing in his 10th Super Bowl, I should say. And Kansas City trying to be the first team to go back-to-back since 2003, 2004, which was the Patriots. First story I want to touch on is the whole Tom Brady going into his 10th Super Bowl. Now, if you guys have listened over the episodes or whatever of me talking about Brady, being greatest of all time, how I would always take Joe Montana over him, and I get a lot of flack for that from our good buddy King or our friend Shoulders O'Brien. But I will admit, if Brady wins this, you have to put the GOAT conversation to sleep. He would have to be considered the GOAT unanimously. When he left New England, let's take it like this. When he left New England, a lot of people felt like Bill Belichick made him. He was a scrawny kid coming out of Michigan who didn't start every year at Michigan, and only got onto the field because of Drew Bledsoe getting injured against the Jets. 10 Super Bowls. Now that's 9 with the Patriots. And when he came to Tampa Bay, obviously the questions got asked, who made New England? Did Belichick make Brady or Brady make Belichick? I mean, look at the stats. Brady put up some good numbers. And where was Belichick at the first round of the playoffs? Sitting at home. They thought Cam Newton could help them get over that, get back into the playoffs. And when you only throw 8 touchdowns, ain't gonna happen. So the conversation got end if Brady wins the Super Bowl here of who's the greatest. Now, if you ask me who would I take, if he wins the Super Bowl, if you guys ask me who do I take, I might have to say Brady. Just because look what he's done up till now. The reason why I always took Montana was he was clutch. But you don't have to be clutch if you're always playing ahead. And I think that's what Brady brings to the table a lot more of than being clutch. I mean, he has pulled off some good comebacks and everything like that over his career. But he's more known to keep that offense going, the fieriness in him. As far as Kansas City trying to be first team to go back-to-back since 2003, 2004, that's partly one reason why I want to see them win. Because I want to see a team like there was back in the day when we were all younger. Seeing that, it was cool. Now, I don't want to see them go, 5-6 in a row, but back-to-back, and maybe even back-to-back-to-back would be cool. But the only reason why I want to see that happen is Andy Reid. I feel like people still don't believe he's the greatest coach of all time. If he were to win the Super Bowl, just think about his resume here. He would have been to, I believe, 6 championship games, 4 NFC, 2 AFC. Maybe even 7. I think there might have been a year that they lost. He has 2 Super Bowl wins under his belt out of 3 tries. Just with the Chiefs alone, he's 91-37 in 8 years. Think about that. 91-37. I mean, you have to say he's the greatest coach of all time. Maybe I'm saying that because he was a former Eagles coach, very loved, very good, except for that last year. And I still think he kind of got the the bad end of the stick there. But you have to think he is the greatest coach of all time if they win this game. So Jimbo, who are you picking to win? Well, I was thinking about it all week. I mean, this on paper screams should be a hell of a game. Potentially high scoring. Both defenses are basically identical statistically. Both giving up about the same amount of yards. Kansas City has the better offense, slight yardage wise, but Tampa Bay has slight points wise. So it's like, Kansas City is favored by 3. Even though Tampa Bay is quote unquote the home team. I think Tampa Bay wins by 5, which is funny because right before I came on, I did my little show notes and I have Kansas City by 5, but that's how close this is. It's just flip flop. But I think Tampa Bay wins. Someone asked Brady, if you win, would you come back for your will you play till you're 45? And he said, definitely, depending on things. And I think that's what this depends on. If he wins, I think he finally retires and runs off into the sunset. So I got Tampa Bay by 5. I just want to see a very good game. Can't wait to see the movie trailers, the commercials. Hopefully they're not depressing like that one year. And I may try to do a live feed through Podbean during the Super Bowl. So make sure you download the Podbean app and keep an eye out for our live stream there. Also, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow because I'm going to have Chris Darling on and possibly another guest from the NSRA Racing League to talk some iRacing. Maybe get their opinion about the Super Bowl, what their picks are and things like that. So, till next time, this is your good friend Jimbo, signing out.